I'm a millennial, okay? And I know I look super, super young. And I know that you probably think that I'm like in my 20s or something, but the truth is I was born in the 80s. I'm not going to tell you exactly the age. I'll let you figure that out yourself. Some of you know, some of you don't, but I am an older millennial. And I came in at the time when participation trophies were just barely becoming a thing. So we didn't really have that. For the first little while, it was like, you don't get a trophy unless you actually win something. But then when I got a little bit older and hit middle school age, participation trophies started to become a thing. And this is the story I want to tell today. It's a time that I thought that I got a participation ribbon for doing absolutely nothing. Now, it wasn't on purpose that I did absolutely nothing. It was just like, I was really surprised to even get this ribbon. They were passing them out in the class at the end of track and field. And I just was like, what's this? I got a participation ribbon, but I didn't do anything. Or so I thought. I've now reframed this. I've been thinking back to a lot of my childhood. The more I step into this whole personal development and spiritual growth and shadow work that I've been doing, the more I'm starting to see the old stories come up that I had as my childhood and be like, like actually, I was pretty badass and awesome. And actually, maybe it wasn't exactly how I thought. So how did this story start? Well, first of all, let me just tell you that something absolutely tragic happened the year that I was in 6th grade. And because something incredibly tragic happened, it devastated my family. And it was such a family crisis. I'm not going to go into the details. Some of you know, some of you don't. I'd appreciate those who do know to not say anything. This is my story to share in my own time. But the fact is that when this happened, it was so devastating, so awful that my dad took me and my brother out of school for a whole week because of this. Like we were just out. We took off. We went to Victoria. We stayed with my aunt and uncle and my cousins, and we had to take that break. We had to decompress because we could not stay where we were. We couldn't be around that energy. It was just too much. There was just too much. And my dad was he wasn't even that much older than I was when this happened. And he just knew, it's like, I can't expose my kids to any more pain or suffering. It's been a month of already this trauma, and we're just going to leave. We're just going to leave. We're too close to this situation, and things are going to happen. We're just going to leave. We're going to go somewhere where we're going to regroup and get that energy. Now, when I came back, though, things had changed in my school. We were now in springtime. It was after spring break, and it was now springtime. And they were doing track and field. They were setting up for track and field. And I didn't know that they were setting up for track and field until a few months later. But they had basically set it up so that everybody had to register for their track days. Like you had to pick your activities. And there was usually no getting out of this. If you were in class that day, you had to fill out the form and you had to do some activities. Now, full disclosure, I was not athletic at all. I loved to run. I loved to jump rope. I love to do things on my own. I can do that if fitness is something, if I want to do it for myself. But it was the competitive aspect of it that I really didn't like. It's not that I hate sports. I mean, I used to think I hate sports, but no, it wasn't that. It was I hated the competition because my athletic ability was not where all the other kids were at. And I also had kids picking on me. And already I had that thing of I'm the runt, I'm tiny, I'm weak, I'm helpless, I'm powerless. And all this track is going to do is lead me to feeling more powerless and helpless. So I hated track and field for that, because I would always come in last and I would never get a ribbon. However, let's flash forward months later, it's at the end of school year, and we have our track and field. and track and field day is upon us. And I'm thinking I'm signed up for something. It turns out I was completely overlooked. They had it as a mandatory event that everybody had to be there for track day and everybody had to participate. And yet at the same time, they forgot about me. They actually forgot that I hadn't been signed up for anything. And so when it comes time for me to get my list of things, I've got nowhere to go. Now, that was the point. I was like, I don't exist. I have nowhere to go. Like, what am I going to do all day? And this is where the participation ribbon really comes in, is because at the end of the day, I was like, what the hell? I got a participation ribbon, but I didn't even do anything. This is weird. Like, I don't deserve this participation ribbon. What the hell are they doing? But I didn't want to say anything because then I would have gotten in trouble, or so I thought. Maybe I would have. I don't know. But the fact is, I got this participation ribbon and it was a joke for a long time. Yeah, I got a participation ribbon for doing nothing. And this actually showed up again in 10th grade, where I skipped out on gym class. I went home. Gym class was the last class of the day. I just would be like, yeah, no, peace out. I'm going home. And it bit me in the butt really bad. In fact, I almost had to take summer school for PE if I did not do gym makeups. However, because I had missed so many classes, the teacher said, look, we need volunteers to hand out ribbons to the people who are doing this triathlon. All you have to do is show up every single day. You come at 8 a.m., you sit there for your weekend, and then you hand people their, I think it was like, give them their flag or something so that they know that they've completed that route. So I was really just sitting on a trail all day long for 3 days while people were running around. And that allowed me to pass gym class. And again, that felt like a participation ribbon to me. But I've kind of changed my thoughts on this, because what happened with track and field and what happened with that whole sitting on the sidelines thing is I showed up. I actually did show up. And with track and field, I didn't just show up. I knew that my best friend, Amanda, who is athletic and was really good at sports, and I wanted to love on her, she was signed up for things. So instead of me having events to go to, I went to hers and I cheered her on. And it was the best day ever for having no activities to do and to just be eating popsicles and having chips and watching my best friend run her track. Like, that was the best day ever. And I now feel I earned that participation ribbon. I earned it because I showed up for someone else. I showed up for my friends. So I earned the right to not have to take PE again because I showed up for that triathlon and I was cheering other people on. When they crossed that piece of the finish line to get to their next destination, because they had to just run and get that ribbon, they had to make sure that they completed that route, I would be like, there you go, here's your ribbon. And I'd smile, and it was probably like, that was one of the friendly faces that they had. I was just happy. I didn't know who won that triathlon. All I knew is that everybody came through. They all got their ribbons, and I was happy because I was cheering them on. And that's really what it is like, it's not just getting a participation trophy. It's how you get it. Are you getting it just for showing up, or are you getting it for showing up? Because when you show up for someone and you're playing full out, and it doesn't matter if you win or if you're doing as much as everybody else around you, it doesn't matter. Competition doesn't matter. It's not about a competition with other people. It's a competition with yourself. How much more did you show up today than you showed up yesterday? And not only that, but are you at your best self? Because if you're not at your best self, but you show up for someone still, even if you're not at your best self, it's like, I can't give 110% today, but I can still show up 80%. That's still showing up. You still get acknowledged for that. If in your life you're doing something and it doesn't work out, but you've put your all into it and you've shown up, damn straight, I'm going to give you your participation trophy. Damn straight, I'm going to acknowledge you. I think that we put so much pressure on ourselves and on, like, we would put more pressure on ourselves than we put on other people. If, for example, you had a child and you knew that your child tried their absolute best and that child came home with a C- on their paper, but you watched them, they were exhausting themselves trying to get this right, they really showed up, you're going to still accept and love that child. If you sit there and you're like, oh, you got a C-, but you studied, I don't understand what's wrong with you, that energy, that's not helping them. It just makes them feel worse about themselves. I've had that before where it's like, I worked really, really hard. I tried my best and I failed. I was not the best math student, not by a long shot, but I tried my best and I'd still get a C-. But because I put all the effort in and I worked to get tutoring and everything, my dad's like, you know what? It's okay. You actually did try. It's not like you just sloughed it off. You actually did try. And maybe this math is just, it's not where you need to be. And it's okay if you want to take the easier math. So I took the easier math and I didn't have any regrets. There were a lot of kids in the classes that took the easier math that they were just in the easy math to phone it in. But I took it because it's like, you know what? This is where I need to be at my level. And I can feel proud. Even though I'm not doing as tough of math as everybody else, I can still feel pretty proud of myself because I'm killing it in this area. And my kids, this is kind of hard for me to admit because I'm such an avid reader, but my kids struggle with reading. They're smart as a whip in math. My son is absolutely as smart as a whip in math, but he struggled with writing and he struggled with reading. Now, for someone who has books all around me and has been reading to her kids since they were babies, that was really hard for me to accept that my son was having those struggles. He doesn't anymore. He can read very well. In fact, there's some words he struggles with that are really, really easy to read. And then there's other ones like what was it? Diamondic. Like he was reading scientific words. And then he can get those right, but he can't get others right. And you know what? It was tough for me to accept that. But at the same time, I could see he was putting the effort in. So it doesn't matter to me that my son is not a spelling whiz like I was. It doesn't matter to me that his writing can be messy, because the fact is that my son is still incredibly smart and he still gets acknowledgement for how much more he has to work to do these things. And my daughter too. Like sometimes the schools are like, they're not where they should be on the growth curve. And like, you know what? They're going to catch up. Because you know what? I caught up with math. I eventually caught up. And I think we put a lot of pressure on our kids and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We think I need to be further than where I am. And one of my best friends, he says, like Warren even says this, like pretty much a lot of my coach friends, they say this, is like, you are where you need to be. You are where you're supposed to be right now. And it's okay. That is one of the things that just I love so much. So you get a participation trophy because you're showing up for yourself and because you're showing up for others. You get a participation trophy because you're alive and you're here on this planet and you didn't decide, you know what, living is just not worth it and I'm just peace out. You get that trophy for showing up. Even if everything else is not working in your life right now, the fact that you're still here on this planet, celebrate that win. If you can't celebrate a big win in your life, celebrate a small win. Celebrate the fact that today you smiled at a stranger. Celebrate the fact that even though you're in a lot of pain, that you got out of bed, that you didn't let that stop you. Celebrate the fact that maybe you didn't write your entire book yet, but you're working on it. and you're not giving up on it, and it's still in your heart, it's still there, because that is part of the journey. It's not about the results, it's about the journey. So when I looked at that participation ribbon before, I'm like, well, I didn't get the results, so why do I have this ribbon? But I had the journey. I still showed up. I still was there for my friends. I still had that experience. And I didn't just say, oh, I'm not signed up for anything. Peace out, I'm going home. No, I didn't do that. I actually stayed. I actually showed up. And with writing my book, I never gave up on it. And there's another book that I'm working on, and there's a story I'm working on that'll probably, I don't know when it's going to come out. There's lots of things that I have as projects that haven't been completed yet, but I know that they will be completed because I'm not giving up on them. You cannot fail if you never give up. Even if you bomb a test, you can recover from that. And I actually almost flunked out of a philosophy class back when I was in college because I wasn't able to show up for myself. But you know what? When I realized, like, this is the last test, they've given us a mock test to go through, and I am going to study like crazy for this test, and I'm going to get it. I am going to get it because I actually want to learn this. And the more I was like, this is fascinating, and I really want to get it. I really want to nail this, and I need it for myself. And I got a B. I actually got a B. I turned my mark from being failing to a B by showing up and getting almost 100% on that test. And when I saw that, I saw it's like, it's not about the results. It's about how you show up, where that energy is going. Because you know what? My son can come home with a math test. He can be like, look, mom, I got 100%. It's like, that's great, honey. I'm really, really proud of you. You know, math is your strong suit. And then he'll come home and he'll be like, Mom, I didn't get 100% on this. Look at this one. It's only 14 out of 20. And I'm really, really sorry. And he's ashamed to show me his test. And I'm like, no, buddy, just show me. Okay, look, you got these ones right. And what was happening here? Well, I was starting to get tired, Mom. And I was really starting to drag down. I'm like, okay. But you know what, buddy? Like, look at what you did. And like, you got frustrated with this question and you got it, you didn't get it exactly right, but you showed up, you did the test. And I know that math is a strong point for you, but yeah, you're right. You weren't feeling too good. And at the same time, you didn't fail. And even if you did fail, if this was something that was like, usually when there's something that he's really good at and he's not doing 100%, I know there's something else going on. And I'm like, what happened? It's not, you got 100 and now you're not getting this. There's a problem here and you're not applying yourself. It's like, what happened? What's going on here? On the other hand, if there's a subject that I know is a struggle for him, I will celebrate a 6 out of 10 as much as I'll celebrate a 10 out of 10. And I'll even celebrate a 4 out of 10 if I know that he put all that effort in and this is just not his strong suit. I can find those beautiful things that he can do. And I'm like, you know what? Look at this. Like, yeah, you've got the spelling errors and everything, but look, I can read your writing now. I couldn't read your writing before. I can actually read it. I mean, I still have to translate some things so that it makes sense. And I have to try to figure out the phonetics of what he's trying to spell, but it's not all pushed together. It's beautiful. He's still learning that process of how to spell properly. And I don't care about the spelling so much as I care about, can I read it? And is his teacher seeing that he's making progress? Because that's what it is. It's progress, not perfection. And I internalized that when I was reading Raising Your Spirited Child. And I've got that book, like I've gone through it a million times with my kids because they are spirited. They are very high, strong-willed, high energy kids. And you've got to celebrate that progress. Progress, not perfection. Done is better than perfect. This is true for entrepreneurship, and like entrepreneurship. This is true in any success in your life. This is true in your relationships. It's true in your parenting too. There's going to be days where you're going to yell at your kids, and it doesn't matter how many books you've read. It doesn't matter how much you know that it's not supposed to happen. There's going to be days when you're just not at your best. And then if you can recognize after you've had that meltdown, it's like, you know what? I really was not at my best. And at the same time, I did stop myself. I recognized I was mid meltdown, or I was close to like saying something that I really knew I didn't want to say, or I was close to doing something and I didn't do it. So that is a win. Instead of focusing, yeah, but I yelled and I'm bad. No, progress, not perfection. And you get a participation trophy for showing up, and I will always acknowledge you. And if you ever tell me, it's like, you know, Carly, like, I'm sorry, like, I don't want you disappointed in me. Guess what? I'm not going to be disappointed in you. I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to blame you. I'm not going to make you wrong. And if you own your mistakes, I'm going to welcome you and appreciate you. Like, this is the same thing with my ex, is he's owning his mistakes. And I'm like, you know what? Our path, our romantic path is done, but I can be your friend, and I can stand for our children and be in unity with you in that way. Because you know what? Everybody has dark secrets in their closet, dark skeletons that we don't want the world to see, that we're ashamed of. There's things in my past too that I'm not exactly proud of. At the same time, I'm not going to hide it. If somebody exposes it, I'm not going to be like, my life is over. If somebody exposes it, it's like, yeah, that happened. And this is what I learned from it. And this is how I grew from it. And when you have no shame, nobody can hold those skeletons against you. When you recognize that, if you truly know, you're going to know if you got something and a reward for something and you did not earn it at all. That's why people who are highly successful but are also exploiting others, they're not happy in their lives. And that's why they lose things. That's why the king, like, if there's a king and he happens to have this whole control of the kingdom, if he's not a nice person, if he's Joffrey from Game of Thrones or Ramsay Bolton, we're cheering for him to die. Whereas somebody who's a leader, who maybe didn't even want to be a leader, like Jon Snow, like he did not want to be a leader, we'll root for him. And King Viserys, he was such a great king in the sense that he was a nice, compassionate person. But could he rule with like an iron fist? No, he could not. He could not do that. He was loved, and there was no wars in his time. It was afterwards that there were the wars. I mean, I'm just going to give these references because when I watch a TV series, I'm not just watching the show just to mindlessly zone out. A lot of people are like, oh, well, if you watch TV, you're zoning out. No, I absolutely cannot zone out on TV. Even when I'm watching something, I get insights. So I'm watching Why Women Kill right now, and I've got those psychological insights, and I can see where things are going. And I love to watch Game of Thrones, and I watched House of the Dragon, but I'm really watching it for those insights into humanity and politics. When I watch movies, it's on a whole different level than what a lot of people watch movies for. I see it for the story. And I acknowledge, like, even when people are like, well, you know, this movie, it kind of bombed. It's like, I can still appreciate the good. And I give the participation trophy because, hey, there are probably a lot of scripts that didn't get written, and this one did. Somebody actually wrote that script, and somebody also felt that there was value in it to create a movie on it. Maybe it didn't get the results that you wanted, but, you know, you at least did it. And maybe the next one will be better. But the fact is, you still did it. You still showed up. Anything we create outwardly into the world, you get a participation freaking trophy for it. You showed up. Out of everybody else who didn't get the participation trophy, it's because they didn't show up. So yeah, that's what I wanted to leave you with. I'm getting a little hungry, so I'm a little tired. It's the end of the week, and I've done a hell of a lot. But I just wanted to let you know to acknowledge your small wins and do it this weekend. Even if you plan to just chill out, the whole weekend. You get a trophy for showing up for yourself to recognize that you needed that rest. And if you show up for someone in their time of need, you get a freaking participation ribbon. And it doesn't even matter if anybody acknowledges you for it. You can acknowledge yourself. Give yourself your participation trophy every time. All right. I love you. Talk to you soon.